So the censoring's going on crazy, right? So this guy got censored. He's a journalist. He's the author of Tell Your Children and Pandemia. Back and better than ever. For more information, sign up for my Substack. That's a funny name of a book. Tell Your Children and Pandemia.
It's about No, it's 2 books.
Oh, so that's 2 different books.
He decided to make it 2 books. It seemed like too much in one.
That's how stupid I am. I can't even tell that those are 2 different books. Tell Your Children, and then the other book is Pandemia. Okay.
Put quotes around the title probably to make it clear.
That would have been helpful. That would have been helpful. And look, he's got his mask off. It's like below his mouth, so he's being a rebel in the picture. That's what I like.
It's like Fauci at a ball game.
So he tweeted this out. It doesn't stop infection or transmission. Don't think of it as a vaccine. Think of it at best as a therapeutic with a limited window of efficacy and terrible side effect profile that must be dosed in advance of illness. And we want to mandate it? So I have to say this, that I don't agree with any of that, and that's all wrong, and that the vaccines do stop transmission and contraction, and they're great, and there's no side effects. So he gets this. This tweet is misleading. So I have to tell you that YouTube says that I have to put I can't say this unless I put it in context. And the context is that the vaccines stop transmission and contraction. They do everything that you want them to do, and that they'll save your life and keep you out of the hospital and stuff. So that's what I have to tell you that, or YouTube will take my channel down. I have to put this in context. I can't just tell you this. So I'm telling you that.
This is a while ago, right? This is like 2021.
So this was in August of 2021. He tweeted this out, and he got this. This tweet is misleading. That's what Twitter said. And I mean, what's misleading? Because he said, don't think it's a vaccine after we clearly changed the definition of vaccine to indicate that it's still a vaccine.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know if that's the problem. Look at the wording on the bottom. Learn why health officials recommend a vaccine for most people. Not science. Health officials. But nowhere does he say don't get the vaccine. In fact, he says the reasons health officials recommended boosters. What are the reasons, Kurt?
Limited window of efficacy is what they said. That's why you need a booster, because it only works for so long.
That's
like
right.
He's saying the thing they said to make you get boosters.
That's right. So what did they do to him? He asked Twitter. He said, hey, Twitter censors, what is misleading about this tweet? Please be specific. The CDC and everyone else now agrees that COVID vaccines do not prevent infection or transmission, nor am I suggesting that anyone specific not be vaccinated, only that mandates don't make sense. That's what I was saying, mandates don't make sense. Referring to this tweet as misleading without explanation defames my reputation as a reporter, and I ask that you remove this label immediately. And so that sounds like legal talk to me, because as soon as he said defame, that's like Johnny Depp case talk. That kind of talk that makes Dr. Oz nervously change the subject and buy Rogan merch. Am I right? So he tells them, you're defaming me. And what did they, and to take that warning off, what did they do? They suspended his account permanently. So you can't, I guess, using legal talk on Twitter breaks a Twitter rule, and then you get permanently suspended. That happened. So then he's back today. So that was last August, but he's back today. He's back. And he says, go to his Substack for the story. And I'm going to go to this. So I go to his Substack for the story. And it says the parties have, this is his statement that he's allowed to say after their agreement, which is a secret agreement. Him and Twitter have a secret agreement.
So lawyers were involved then? For
yes, lawyers were involved. Lots of lawyers were involved. In fact, he even thanks the Twitter lawyers for unwittingly reveal something that helped him win his case. He says, the parties have come to a mutually acceptable resolution. I have been reinstated. Twitter has acknowledged that my tweets should not have led to my suspension. So I guess it's okay to tweet that now because he put it back up. It's his pinned tweet.
Wow.
That's his pinned tweet. To recap, last August, Twitter banned me after I got 5 strikes under its COVID-19 misinformation policy, which meant I'd supposedly made claims of fact that were demonstrably false or misleading and likely to impact public safety or cause serious harm. That's the policy. That's what it takes to get a strike. Look it up. Now we've come to find those tweets should not have led to my suspension. Oopsie. Hey, everybody makes mistakes. Not everybody's mistakes lead to a worldwide series of defamatory articles like this one, though. And then he leads to this. So this was one of the articles written about him in Business Insider. It said, COVID conspiracy theorist Alex Berenson banned from Twitter after posting anti-vaccine rant. That was on August 29th of last year. Katie Blavik. She's not embarrassed to write propaganda for Big Pharma.
Well, Katie Blavik, the editor, writes the headline. So that means that. See, that's what's so gross about this is the editors pick this stuff. Whatever her article says, they specifically pick these kind of this language. A few editors in all the major outlets.
I didn't read that article. You think Katie was playing it right down the middle, or do you think she was?
No, I'm sure she wrote crap, and then an
Yes.
editor found a way to attach it to his name.
Yeah.
I've been through this. They find a way to fuck your
I know.
searches up. Yeah.
And then he says now that's all in the past. That stuff like that Business Insider article, it's all in the past. The little bird and I are now the best of friends, being the Twitter bird. And I can't wait for Insider and NBC News and everyone else who drooled over my suspension in August and later to devote equal space to the fact that I'm now back and Twitter's admission it should not have banned me. Much more, actually, because this has never happened before. You know what? What's that?
What has never happened before? Being brought back, or
I think being brought back after a permanent suspension. I think that's what he means.
Okay.
You know what it took Twitter to admit it should have done what it did? You do not. So do you know what it took to get Twitter to admit it shouldn't have done what it did? You do not. And I can't tell you because the statement is all I can say about the settlement. So they have a legal settlement and he can't tell you what he did to get Twitter to admit that.
How much you want to bet it's because all he did was say the reasons that they were telling people to get boosters, basically. I'll bet you it's something like that.
Except I need to add one thing. The settlement does not end my investigation into the pressures that the government may have placed on Twitter to suspend my account. Of course, this is coming from governmental people, coming from Democrats. Mostly, I'm going to guess mostly Democrats, but who knows? I will have more to say on that issue in the near future. I made a promise to readers last month, and I take my promise to the readers seriously. Well, good for you.
I would love if he figured that out, man.
Me too.
What they do on Twitter. Oh, my God.
Most of all, the thousands of you who put up, he starts thanking people. That's when I said he thanked the lawyer for Twitter who unwittingly revealed some big piece of information. and he thanked a lot of people. And then he says, but most of all, the thousands of you who put up your own hard-earned money where my mouth is. You provided not just the resources I needed to stand up to the little bird, but good wishes and prayers against the bitter cynicism of the many woke journalists and self-styled legal analysts who said I didn't have a chance. And you reminded me why Berenson versus Twitter mattered. That's his case. This battle for truth and free speech is won. The war is far from over. Onward. That's how he ends it. And then, just to show you some of the garbage he was getting. So, by the way, I've gotten the same thing. Whenever I would tweet something about coronavirus, people would immediately attack me. And I would just tweet links to articles from the NIH, and people would attack me on Twitter. Facts don't matter.
It's not helpful, Jimmy.
That's
You're
right.
Not being helpful.
You telling people the truth about your vaccine side effects isn't helpful. Why don't you shut up? So other people can get injured without having any information. Smart people don't look into things, Jimmy. Smart people, good people don't question the government or big pharma, the good people trying to save you.
What do you read?
What are you, a reader? So, these are, and I know the people who have said shit about me, people who are my friends, who used to be, and are 100% wrong about COVID and don't have the fucking guts to admit they're wrong about COVID, even though they know now that they're 100% wrong. I got people who had taken the Johnson & Johnson shot, which wore off after 2 months, according to the science.
Did he get taken off the market by now?
And they're not even using the Johnson. I know people who got that Johnson & Johnson, and a year later were still walking around like they were vaccinated, and they were better people.
I always look down on Johnson & Johnson people as a Pfizer man. I mean, we got to draw a line.
And so that's why you can't have mandates, dummies. Because of that guy's tweet. Again, I have to give you the YouTube deal. That guy's tweet is 100% wrong. And those, even though Twitter put it back up, and Twitter says it's not misinformation, I have to say it is, because we all know that the vaccine stopped transmission and contraction, and they do a great job keeping you out of the hospital. They're the best things in the world. So I got to say that. All right.
Like to add, the only thing better is boosters. The only thing even better, more effective, is repeat boosters.
Repeated boosters whenever they tell you to get them. Even though the two heads of the vaccine department resigned over the boosters, don't worry about that. Why would you worry about that? The heads of the vaccine department at the FDA, which gets 70% of their funding from the frickin' big pharma as it is, that even those people would resign. Does that give you pause? Well, it shouldn't. It shouldn't. Have you watched MSNBC or CNN? Have you read Rolling Stone or the New York Times? They're going to tell you shouldn't worry, but they're not even going to tell you about that stuff.
You don't need to read NIH things. What is that? Some Joe Rogan thing?
That's right. What do you... Don't be doing your own research. Everything's fine. The government and big pharma has it figured out. What are you, an idiot? You think that they don't have your best interests at heart? The government and big pharma? You're some kind of a moron.
What a tough spot to be in, to be at an 8% confidence in the institution, but also not able to do your own research. Like, I guess I just don't got to know nothing. I'm not confident, but I'm also not going to read.
Hey, there's this new drug Big Pharma's pushing. They're going to make hundreds of billions of dollars off it. I don't need to read anything about it. I bet it's fine. And if you do read something about it, you're an asshole. Trumper. You're the worst person in the world. You would look into an experimental medical treatment? What are you, stupid?
Trump told me to take it, by the way.
Trump is the one telling everybody to take the vaccines.
He's mad that he got credit taken away from him.
He wants the credit. Operation Warp Speed. He wants the credit.
They stole his great vaccine.
Okay. Imagine what it's like to be one of those people who got COVID and the vaccines wrong. Then you disingenuously slandered me, and then you don't have the fucking the dignity or the integrity to admit it that you were wrong, because they'll never admit it. But so then they have to live like that. They're those people. They are the people they claim to hate. They claim to hate dumb Trumpers who are anti-science. Turns out they're the dumb, gullible propaganda repeaters of Big Pharma who also don't believe in science because they were too lazy to look into it.
Well, I think of them as people with really big hearts because they got 4 shots and twice. They're big-hearted. It's going to be a problem this summer.
Hey, we're going to Sacramento, back here in Los Angeles, Bakersfield, Indianapolis, Louisville, Cincinnati, Tulsa, Oklahoma City. Go to jimmydorcomedy.com for a link for all the tickets for all our shows.